Hey, this is Rachel Cousins, and you're listening to Tobin Tonight.
When did you develop your interest in music, and when did you think, hey, you know what, I want to do this as a career?
Yeah, so I've always been involved in music and the arts and drama and all that kind of stuff. I started off in musical theater when I was really young here in St. John's because the musical theater community here is just really, really good. So I was always doing musicals, always in voice lessons, doing competitions like Kiwanis Festival and all that kind of stuff. But I'd say around 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote my first song. And I picked up the guitar because of my first voice teacher, which was Melanie O'Brien, here in the city. And ever since then, I was just writing songs and learning some new things on guitar. And I'm self-taught on all my instruments. She gave me 3 chords and said, you're on your own, you go do that. So yeah, ever since then, I just kind of said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I started recording music, and it's just been on the go ever since, really. It's like, I always say it's not even a choice. It's just something that kind of happened, and I can't seem to find anything else that makes me this happy. So been doing it all my life, really.
Because you're a Newfoundlander and I'm a Newfoundlander, I feel like it's okay to, I guess what they say, take the piss out of you a little bit. But when you're 18, so you said that you started this about 5 years ago. I mean, what's a 13-year-old girl writing songs about? And don't give me the Taylor Swift line of, about heartbreak and breakup. Like, were you writing about puppies? What were you writing about?
I mean, as a singer-songwriter, I think one of the things that is really special about what we do is that it's not even, sometimes you write a song and it's not even about yourself because you're paying attention to what's going on in the world and you just write a song about that topic. And that's kind of what I did. Like, I just listened to other people's music and I found themes that I really liked and just about my own life, tried to relate myself to different music. And I mean, that's what we do as singer-songwriters, because if we only wrote about ourselves, it wouldn't be exactly relatable for everybody. And you can only wish as a singer-songwriter that somebody's relating to what you're writing about and they really feel, the topic that you're speaking about. So yeah, I mean, just inspiration from other artists and things that were happening in the world, and yeah.
Who were some of your inspirations, people you model your music after?
I listen to a lot of different genres. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't listen to just one specific genre. I love Lennon Stella. I love Ariana Grande, Frank Ocean. There's a whole bunch, like Lorde. I really, really love Lorde. But I also listen to a lot of singer-songwriters like Ben Howard and Bon Iver, Harry Styles, Casey Musgraves. Like, I'm just all over the place, really. So yeah, I'm just kind of all over the place. But I think it's important to do that because it makes your music a lot more interesting when you're pulling inspiration from all over the place.
Just to kind of get the age gap here, but Ariana Grande, did you pick up on her from Victorious on Nickelodeon, or as soon as she kind of became Ariana Grande?
I mean, yeah, I was always watching shows like that, and so I knew who she was. I mean, obviously, I knew who she was. But, songs like Break Your Heart Right Back and all that kind of stuff, her older things, just really bubblegum pop. I've been listening ever since then. But just, through her growth as an artist, I've just always listened to her music. Yeah, and I think she's just, the coolest. So, yeah, I've known about her since I was watching Victorious.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to bring up the thing, because I'm looking at clips the other day when you scroll through your Facebook, and I remember watching Drake and Josh, and I remember watching iCarly to an extent, and then when it showed up Victorious, I'm like, I don't remember this, and I was like, yeah. Isn't that Ariana Grande? And then I was like, I'm gonna ask her this because 10 years younger, she probably knows a little bit more about it too. Now I see you've gotten attention with, of course, like I said, the Newfoundland Herald, VOCM, CBC, which is great. They give you a chance to create a name for yourself at home, but you also toured other parts of the world, Sweden. And I was going to give the Eminem line of how did you get to Sweden, but I'm not going to do that. How did they react to your music over in Sweden?
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I was super nervous about. Was it's a whole new audience. There's nobody familiar in the crowd. So I was super nervous about that. But I mean, everybody was coming from all over the world. So that's just part of the job. But they're a super humble crowd. I'm not used to how quiet they were because, being from Newfoundland, it's you probably have 6 cousins in the audience and everybody's hooting and hollering and so it was super different, but they were so appreciative and they loved listening to different artists and different music and different genres. And yeah, the scene over there is really, really cool. Coming from an island, it's there's not a lot of pop or electronic music here. So they really, really love soaking up all the the pop and electronic, but also the hard rock bands and things like that. I really liked the audience over there, and they were super receptive, and they talked a lot after the show, and yeah, it was super nice.
And I could be wrong about this, but I believe to their credit, they have like Kona Pop, who came out with I Don't Care. They have Robin. I think Avicii is from that area too, or over in that area. So yeah, that's kind of cool, because I like how you brought in about how you have like cousins at your show in Newfoundland, because as soon as someone says next to the stage, Rachel Cousins, and you got, go get him, Rachel, you got this. And you're just still like, thanks, Doug, or thanks. Yeah. Like, thanks, Mom. Like, keep it down. Yeah. But over in Sweden, your mom could be like, go get him, girl. And then they're like, go get him. Who's him? What are you getting? Yeah. You mentioned that you liked the audience there in Sweden, but they're really quiet. Does it throw you off when, just say, a certain audience maybe doesn't feel / respond either favorably or in the way to your sound that you thought they were going to?
Yeah, I mean, there is that factor of like why isn't somebody connecting with my music? But then I think about it, I'm like, as much as I'm an artist, I'm also an audience member, and I do the same thing. Like, if I listen to somebody and I'm not really connecting with their music, that's nothing. That's neither of our faults. It's not anything personal, really. It's just that they're not really feeling your vibe and whatnot. And I remember I was super nervous for one of the gigs up there, because the band right before me, the Royal Flash actually is their name, and they're from Spain. I was so nervous because they were this insane rock band, like melt your face off, high energy, huge crowd there to watch them. And then I was like, I'm going to get up with my little rinky-dinky guitar and sing people to sleep. Like, I'm, what if people really are not about that? But I mean, you kind of have to like get out of your head and not be so self-centered almost, because not everybody is like thinking about you as much as you think they are, and there's going to be somebody there that likes what you're singing. That's just the way the world is, and that's the job that I got myself into. So there's always somebody in the audience that likes what you're singing. There's going to be people that don't like what you're doing, no matter what it is. But it comes with the territory, so you just kind of got to accept it and realize that, that's the way of the world. But there's somebody out there that definitely likes what you're doing. So I just take it with a grain of salt, really.
Absolutely. And I mean, that I like your response there, because I'm looking at it and saying, like, I know that you're like a young up and coming artist and only 18, but like that response sounds like something that you would get from like a Blink-182 or 1975, where it's like their music has changed over the years so often. And then you have fans, even with like Fall Out Boy, that I love Fall Out Boy, but sometimes you'll listen to a song and be like, I'm not getting it. And then they'll come out with an interview and say, listen, if you like Sugar We're Going Down, great. If you don't like this song, cool. Like, do you like us as general? Like, and if not, that's okay. So I like that answer. I read you performed roughly 100 shows a year. Now, at first, when I put that down on paper, I was like, there's no way. That's elaborated. But when I look at it, I'm like, 365 days, 100 shows. It's plausible. It's doable. That's how many Christmas cards I send out. Like, let's be honest here. That's crazy. So what keeps you focused and committed from burning out? Because listen, it may be just me because I'm pretty lazy, but after sending out like 4 or 5 emails, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. No more today. So what keeps you committed from burning out?
I mean, of course I get the days where I'm like, I really can't do anything. I'm just going to sit in bed for a second. And I think the key is realizing that, you're human and there's only so much that you can do. And it's okay to have a day where you just do absolutely nothing. And somebody told me recently to just accept the boredom. And I'm somebody that it's really hard for me to relax, and it's hard for me to not be productive and do something, because then I feel bad, because I feel like I should be doing something with myself. And there's always something that I'm doing. I'm always writing about something. But to keep myself motivated, sometimes it's a struggle, but I realize that if this is what I want to do, nobody else is going to do it for me. And it is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And as I said, there's been times where I'm like, I give up, like I'm ready to throw the towel in, because it is a really hard industry to be a part of, especially when you're a young, like I'm 18, so I'm a young up and coming artist, but like nobody else is going to do it for me. And I just have to be really self-sustaining, and I've always been really independent. So I just try to motivate myself as much as I can. I credit myself on the small things that I do. If I am having an off day, then if I just get up and I write a little bit of a song, or I fiddle with my guitar for a little bit, I'll say, I tried my best today, or I did this today. But then, of course, you have the days where you're just doing everything at once. So, yeah, I just check in with myself a lot, and I credit myself on things that I do. But I don't get too over my head and push myself forward every day, because nobody else is going to do it for me, and this is what I want to do.
You've been nominated for Music Newfoundland Female Artist of the Year, Rising Star. Your music has been featured in TV shows, movies. You've signed your first publishing deal with OMBA. That's quite a lot already accomplished. How does all this feel? Number one, having all this at your fingertips at 18, and has it made you feel like your hard work has paid off?
Yeah, like I said, I'm just the kind of person where part of me always thinks that I'm not doing enough. And so at teen, it's like people are always saying, you're doing so much for 18. You look like, you have all your stuff together. And I kind of have to laugh at them because I really don't feel like I have anything together, at all at any point in the day. But I just kind of have to take a step back and realize that I'm 18. I'm not in school anymore. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. So I do kind of have to credit myself to a certain point, but I also can't be the type of person to say, oh, look at me, like I have all this going for me so young, because, tomorrow all of a sudden I could lose my voice or something could happen and all of a sudden I have to go back to school, and things happen, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do realize that, I'm young and I'm busy and whatnot, but I never feel like I'm overachieved or anything like that, because I'm an artist. So I'm really hard on myself, and I always believe that I can take it to the next step and beat myself. At a certain point, yes, but also no.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring this up because I don't have it on paper, but I kind of like your answer. And again, I'm not poking at you in any way by saying this, but you mentioned that this is your career now. You're not going to school. In terms of that, do you ever look at that and say, maybe you should go to school, or is there a possibility that in the future you'd like to go to school for a certain program?
Yeah, so it's funny because actually not a lot of people have asked me this question besides family, because it kind of confuses people. And I don't know why. I guess here it's especially here, because it's, an island, and although it's a big island, the population is not insane. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's kind of rare to hear about somebody not going to university and not even thinking about going in the future. It's different to say, I'm taking a gap year. I'm going to take a year for myself and experience things. For me, it's I'm not going to school, and I really don't think I ever will go back to school. It's definitely not my plan. God only knows what the universe has planned for me, but for me, I really don't think I'm going to go back to school.
You released your debut album 2 years ago. You have a new album out now, a new EP with the song Dangerous Love on it, of course. But you named this album Rachel Cousins. A side question here, Rachel. It's kind of really bothering me, but why don't you call this album Rachel Cousins and not your first album Rachel Cousins? Because your first album is your debut album, and usually a debut album goes with your first name. But why? What's going on? Tell me.
So the thing is that This Fire was this big statement for me as my first debut EP. And This Fire is a song that's on the EP as well. And the album cover is obviously, flames and red themed. So we titled that one This Fire, and it was super cool, this big statement. I didn't want anything to be frilly or anything like that because, as a young artist, as a young female artist, may I add, it's people don't expect that kind of thing from you. So I put that out there, and I'm always the person to not try and conform to society.
Yeah.
So I put that out there, and it was super cool. And then for this one, we were thinking about names, myself and Daniel, and we probably listed about 20 different names, and all going along the theme with the crystal theme that's in this EP. And I said, you know what? This is the EP that is it really just feels like me, and it feels really comfortable to me now. And so I just said, I think I'm just going to call it Rachel Cousins, because it's kind of, here I am, and this is the genre that I want to be in, and this is who I really am. And the visuals and things were just everything that I had ever wanted. And myself and my mom designed the whole EP. So it was just this one big project of me. And so I self-titled it, and that's not a normal thing, I guess I could say. Now in 2019, you don't really see a lot of self-titled EPs. So I just wanted it to be another statement. And that's what I want to keep doing with my career, is just keep making statements. And with the visuals of the whole white album and the clean crystal thing, thought self-titled was the best way to be, instead of naming it something that I wasn't really fully attached to.
The other question I have kind of related to this, because it's been, of course, 2 years from that point, and you're continuing to do music. You have this song Dangerous Love out as well. So I guess heading into 2020, what's your goals and plans?
The goal for 2020 is to hopefully move. I've been talking about moving now for the past few years. So I'm hoping to go out of Toronto, because that's where my publishing company is, Simba. They're based out of Ontario. So I want to move to Toronto just for the opportunity and things like that. But but I'm always moving forward with the next project. So I'm immediately thinking about music videos that I could have for this EP and new visuals for different things and what will the next EP hold. And there's just a lot of planning. And that's the thing about being an artist is that although you have to deal with what you're doing right now in the present, it's like you have to keep thinking about the future and keep planning. And the ECMAs are here in the new year. So there's that. And there's just a bunch of different conferences and stuff that I'm hoping to be a part of. So it's just a lot of planning and behind the scenes things, applications and all that fun stuff. So hopefully when the new year comes around, be a whole bunch of new stuff.
You broke the news to Hilda, right? You broke the news to her because you can't just go up and leave and without telling your mom.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All she comes in and sees, Rachel, time for she's not here. Forgot that.
My family's super supportive, and they know that I have to move just for better opportunities and stuff. So they know that I'll be up and gone soon enough.
Yeah, I'm sure secretly they're like, "Oh, good, she's out of the house. We can start partying." What hobbies do you have outside of music? Because I know, again, VOCM, Newfoundland Herald, they stuck to the music side of things, and we like to do a little bit of different here. We want to discuss, of course, your music career, but everybody has hobbies outside of what they do.
Well, I'm really interested. A lot of people don't know this about me, but so, the whole EP is crystal themed, right? Well, I'm like this huge meditation, natural path therapy hippie. So I collect crystals and I love, reading things on crystals and crystal healing and therapy and aromatherapy and all that kind of stuff I find so interesting. I'm a big writer, so I just write a lot of stuff and I love fashion. So yeah, I have a bunch of different interests. I collect a lot of things. I collect vinyls and CDs and, like I said, crystals. And I'm a huge clean freak, so I'm always organizing and redoing my room. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm all over the place, but it all has something to do with art somehow. So yeah.
I totally agree with you with the cleaning and the keeping the room organized. I always do that. I have carpet in my room right now, but like it's never dirty, but I just always just double clean it anyway because I have a dog and he kind of sheds, but like it's never that bad. But it's always like my brother will come in and be like, "Yo, what are you cleaning?" I'm like, "Because I have to."
I'm always picking up after my room. Like my room has never been, I'm a teenage girl and my room has never once been dirty in my life. And I'm always like redoing it. Like, oh, what if I put this here? And what if I put a picture here or hung this here or like change this around? Like I've always been like that.
See, now you're making me feel a lot like a teenage girl because that's what I do when I'm home.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Rachel Cousins for coming on the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying, thanks for listening and good night.